Hey guys, before the video starts, I just wanted to let you know that I have finally a Twitter account. It's crazy. I have arrived in the information age, in the social media age. So if you're on Twitter and want to interact with me, go over and type Walt Speaks. It's really simple, one word, Walt Speaks, and we can be friends on Twitter. All my hauls, all the stuff that I'm buying all the time, some thoughts that don't wander into those videos, they will all be on Twitter, and I would love to interact with you. So that's it. Now let the video start. Hey comic fans, it's Walt, back with single issue reviews. And yes, this is the third time that I have to record this. My iPhone just, I don't know, just didn't work the way I wanted it to work. Whatever, let's just kick it off, get into it. I enjoyed my stack of books very much this time. And I have a lot of DC books to talk about. You know that I was very bullish about Marvel's fresh start in the last video. But I have to say, DC did a great job with the new series launched recently and the new teams put on the books. Except for maybe this one, I wasn't completely sold on Bendis' new Superman. I haven't read the miniseries, and this didn't feel like a #1. This felt more like an epilogue to his miniseries, which I find a little bit sad and also a little bit dumb for sure, because you know, when I buy a #1, I want to be picked up and I want to go into the action and I want to have a new mission right away. And he's cleaning house here all the time. Ivan Rice is doing a great job on art, so it's not on him. It's more the storytelling that didn't convince me. He's in this depressive state right now, so I think it's dangerous when both, you know, the main DC heroes, Batman is having his Catwoman well, epilogue, trauma, whatever, and yes, Clark is thinking a lot about his family who got lost in this miniseries. Bendis did away with them, like new writers want to do away with them, you know, things that hinder the hero to do a lot of, to be a bit more free. We had this with Spider-Man. We had an interruption of this becoming a thing with Batman and Catwoman. And now, yeah, Superman is solo again and he's very sad. And yeah, so Justice League is coming. He has to build his new Fortress of Solitude. And he builds it, it's strangely enough, the Bermuda Triangle. I think this is... Isn't it like in the Caribbean somewhere? So where it's really warm? For me, the whole Fortress of Solitude thing was always a cold. There was a coldness about it. And also, like, it's a really simple thing to build it again. You just drop a crystal into the water and then out pops the Fortress of Solitude. So who cares if it gets destroyed again? You can just rebuild it again. So yeah, there were a lot of things that didn't quite click with me. Man Talk with Martian Manhunter here. And yes, towards the end of the issue it got more interesting, but it was a lot of the drama, or the plot was very fragmented. There was no drive pulling me into it and wanting to buy the next issue, so I won't. It's as simple. This, on the other hand, I know it's old already, but I had to catch up because I hadn't read it, and it was fun. It was a fun anniversary issue. A lot of different art teams doing Superman in his very different incarnations, and yeah, a few of them were really, really cool. I really liked them, especially Jeff Jones and Richard Donner's, Paul Dini's and Brad Meltzer's, but also the other ones. Fun stuff. If you haven't checked it out, it's cool. It's fun. As is Hawkman #2. I was very impressed by #1 by Robert Venditti and Brian Hitch. A great team on this book, and I guess for old school Hawkman fans it's a bit boring because it's again the rediscovering of his origins and, you know, his golden age persona and his silver age persona, and there were so many recalibrations regarding him, but probably by now every DC hero, that it's getting into an it's becoming its own genre, you know, the rediscovery of your own origin. So all those heroes, like we had with Wonder Woman, with Rebirth, Greg Rucka's Rebirth run, they're always searching for their true identity, and yeah, it's getting a bit tiring, but not with Hawkman because I didn't know anything about him. So for me, it's very exciting. I love the art and the coloring. It's really good, and yeah, he gets into a very ancient version of himself. So yeah, we have an Egyptian Hawkman in this super cool Kirby-esque pose here that I enjoy very much, as I do the cover, which has also like this Kirby posing going on, and it was great. I really enjoyed it, and it's a little bit of mystery. It's a little bit of continuity porn, I guess, for those who know the Hawkman's continuity, but it's also great action. So it's a really good book by DC. As is Batman 51. Yes, I didn't like number 50. I ranted about it in my last video, but this one was great. Why? Because it's Lee Weeks. Simple as that. Lee Weeks and Elizabeth Breitweiser on art. And the story is also cool. You can see it here. Batman hunts down Mr. Freeze and gets a confession out of him, and then Bruce Wayne has jury duty and has to decide if this confession that was given under threat is worth anything. So it's a cool idea for a story, and I think Tom King really works well with those more veteran pencilers who are a bit more loose on the story and not as, you know, I think he needs some kind of, how to put it, contrast to, or something organic to contrast his very analytic mind, and it works very well here. I love this issue, and I will stay until this arc wraps up, and then I will be gone, because I'm much more a fan of Detective Comics right now. Unfortunately, I've read that the new writer Brian Hill will only stay for one arc. It's really sad because this is excellent. I read 983 and 984, and it's the first two chapters in an arc called On the Outside, and it's about a new villain targeting Batman's helpers, and you know, his young helpers who, in a way, you know, when you read this and when you also, he's written also in a way that you get that it's kind of immoral what he's doing. This is like child's work, and he's putting very young people to high risks, and he's a very cold person. He is a sociopath. And he's written like this here, and this makes this book very interesting. Black Lightning is a bit bland in contrast. He's supposed to, he's recruited to take over this band of outsiders, and yeah, this is where the story is going. We have to find out who this mystery villain is, and it's written very energetic, and the pace is perfect. The art is okay. It's not fantastic, but it's doing the job, and I urge you to check it out. This is by far the most enjoyable and most dynamic series that DC is putting out right now. Like from those 5 or 6 which I'm following. But yeah, it's really good. Alright, next up is Aquaman. And I had to catch up on Aquaman. I haven't read like the last 5 or 6 issues, and it was a great read. And especially a great pleasure to look at the art of Federico. No, it's not Federico Federici. It's Riccardo Federici, the artist. Really, really cool stuff here. The coloring is also decent. I'm not sure if it's taking away something from the art. I guess in black and white it would be still very impressive. But what I like about the coloring is that now for the first time, you know that I read the Rebirth Aquaman from the beginning and I really enjoyed it. But the art was really too superheroic and frankly very bland and boring. And now it's very moody and underwatery. And yeah, this underwater feeling is really coming across. And yeah, it's Game of Thrones underwater, I would say. It's high fantasy, great character building by Mr. Dan Abnett. It's a very cool art. It's a bit long, so he's fighting this bad guy here, and it goes on and on and on and on. But there are so many characters, so many little subplots which are woven into a really interesting saga here. I think this will go down as one of the great runs of this Rebirth era. So that was really cool. And again, very, very good. Red Hood and the Outlaws. Again, I had to catch up, and it was a joy. This is great writing by Scott Lobdell. Who would have thought that? Scott Lobdell. For me, he is the the guy who took over from Chris Claremont like years and years ago on X-Men, like 20 years, 30 years ago. But he's doing a really cool job here, and the art is also cool. Very splashy, very dynamic, very, very loud, and yeah, it's great character building, great emotional moments, and an interesting story. Bizarro, who was intelligent already. He took like some drugs given to him by Lex Luthor, and those made him very clever. This is like, I would say, the main story which is going on. There are a lot of other stories, but this is the main one. And now he has quitted those drugs because they were making him like psychically and mentally unstable. But now he's regressing and he gets dumber, and he asks himself questions about, it's like watching someone having Alzheimer's, basically. He's regressing to this very childlike and difficult state of mind, and it's heartbreaking, and it's fantastic. It's really good. So yeah, I'm raving about DC all the time, except for my once favorite series, Shake the Changing Woman. It has become barely readable. It's still really pretty to watch, but yeah, it's obvious they have to wrap up the story. It really feels that way. And after all those poetic hints and stuff, you would expect like something really, really weirdly creative to happen, but it's just like picking up all the plots and putting them together, and it's a letdown. Next up are Marvel books. Not a lot of them this time. Thing and Human Torch in Marvel 2-in-1. Number 7. I wanted to, everyone's raving about this book, and I really like the annual, and yeah, it was a fun little story in space. 2 of the Fantastic Four are looking for the other 2, and they're exploring the multiverse, and yeah, they meet other versions of the heroes we know from our universe. It was fun, nothing to to get crazy about, but it was decent. I wasn't like the biggest fan of the art by what's his name? Ramon Perez. But Chip Zdarsky can write really funny dialogues. I think he has a good ear for dialogue, and yeah, I will continue sampling it. Next up, Cable, number 158 and 59. This is the wrap up of the last arc, written by Zach Thompson and Lonnie Nadler. I talked about those guys. They're getting bigger and bigger now. They will write an X-Men one-shot for Marvel soon, and they're doing a new Bloodshot series at Valiant. And yeah, this was fun. I think a lot more fun for people who love Cable and who know their Cable lore. I don't. So for me, I understood what was going on, but it didn't have like this emotional punch that I think it has with people who really know their Cable stuff. And yeah, it was a fun story, traveling through time, different stages of Cable history with a nice ending. So recommended, especially for Cable readers. Hulk number 3, this was really interesting. A story told Rashomon style, different perspectives on the same event. We have a reporter investigating a weird episode in a small town. So this is like the new Hulk series are like weird episodes in small towns. And we have a lot of indie creators doing those those different takes on this case, and it's really fun to look at. Paul Hornschemeyer, haven't heard of him for a long time. He used to be like a up-and-coming guy with Fantagraphics. Like 10 years ago, everyone was expecting him to become really big. We have Marguerite Sauvage and the other guys, Joe Bennett, of course, who's the regular artist. The other guys I didn't know, but they were all decent, and it was a fun issue. And I think this kind of high concept Hulk is something that I really enjoy, even more than, you know, tell everything from his perspective. He's more like a guest in his own series. I'm not sure everyone enjoys that, and I'm pretty optimistic about the fact that this will change in the future, but for the first arc, this is what we get, and I think Al Ewing is is doing a great service to the character and reaffirming his role in the Marvel Universe. And this is a very horror-oriented book, and I love it. And here we have Sasquatch coming up. Next up, Shadowman number 5. Another great installment in Andy Diggle's run. I really enjoy it. And it's a bit of Hawkman. So it's the Shadowman of the past, the Shadowman of the Jim Crow era. And it's greatly illustrated by, I can't really spell this name, Doug Braithwaite. Anyway, it's really cool. I enjoyed it, and this is a very, very, very solid and enjoyable run on Shadowman, much better than the last one that we had a few years ago. I really enjoyed. Next up is Relay number 1, a new sci-fi story from Aftershock. It's by Zach Thompson without Lonnie Nadler, and it's based on an idea by Donny Cates, actually. The weird thing is, though, that the copyrights are credited to Eric Bromberg, who's, I think, a screenwriter. So I don't get what this is supposed to be here. Is it a pitch for a movie? If so, it's a bit, not a rip-off, but it's the reference to 2001. Do you see this monolith here, the black monolith? It's what this comic is dealing with. A black monolith, so it's a few hundred years in the future. I forgot when it's happening, but yeah, it's in the future, and this monolith is basically dictating everyone what to think and what to do. And so they still have their free will, but they also, like, this monolith is holding everything together. And a group of police guys are doing their job. Yeah, it's I didn't love the storytelling because it's very expositional. It's a lot of information that we have to take in, but I don't know why I should do it. I don't know why I should memorize all this world building that is going on here, because if I don't care for the characters, or there is not a very, very strong hook from the beginning, I'm not motivated to you know, to keep all this information in my head. Having said that, the art was really nice by Andy Clark, and I think this will read much better in trade. Next up is Stellar, which was again very good. Brett Levins on art, Joe Keatinge on story, and this has changed somehow from the first issue, which started as this bounty hunter taking an alien to you know, to where she was supposed to take him to get paid, and then people from space attacking, and now the whole first issue is basically not important anymore, because it's all about those 5 guys who were introduced in the last few pages of the first issue, and it's about their past. They together have formed kind of like the antipode to the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're like the destroyers of galaxies, and one of them has died or gone renegade. Something has happened, a big mystery from the past, and now they have to unite to confront him. And it's a very interesting atmosphere, which has a horror feel about it, but it's of course sci-fi. And I have read in the back matter that a very sad note by Brett Levins. He drew this whole thing while his wife was dying from cancer or fighting cancer. So it took years for him to finish it, and he stated himself that he got better by every page, and you can see it. It gets more intense as you go, and I think this could become something very, very interesting. Not completely sure where it's heading, but I'm very intrigued. It's a very unique book. Farmhand #1 is by Rob Gilroy. He was the penciler, the artist on Chew, and yeah, he has created here a very interesting, fun story which combines the weirdness of Chew with a family drama, and not necessarily my kind of art though. So as much as I have to give him credit for the very good build up for the first issue, it's a great introduction to this world, to the characters, to the conflicts, but I'm not sold on the art. And if it's supposed to be a horror book, this pairing of cartoonish and horrorish is something where I had problems with Chew already. And yeah, if you like Chew, I have to say, I think this is pretty amazing. If you are skeptical on Chew, I doubt you will like this one. Thief of Thieves is going into its final arc, and now it's written by Brett Lewis, still drawn by Sean Martinsborough, and I've read the first trade like years ago. It was decent, but this year was very special. Brett Lewis, if you remember, he wrote a series for Wildstorm called The Weatherman. I have never finished it, but I still remember those few issues that I read. So I had to check it out, and it's again like The Weatherman. It has some connection to Russia. The main protagonist is a prisoner in a Russian gulag, And it's really hard stuff, man. It's really, really hard stuff. And the ending is especially a punch in the guts. So it's very strong material. But the problem for me is it's number 38 or something, yeah. So it's hard to jump onto it right now, but I will definitely read it in trade, and maybe I will even go back and try to catch up some of the story, because of course if you know the characters and know their history, this will be even more emotional. Really interesting. And the Weatherman #1 was my surprise book of this stash. I picked it up because I've read good reviews, and first I wasn't like very psyched about the art, again like this very cartoonish art, but this was very impressive. So it's a future which feels very homey to our contemporary present, and in this future aliens have come, as you can see. So it's not that far away from Relay, yeah, something has happened to some of the inhabitants. They have disappeared, and everyone is this leftover scenario. Everyone is somehow dealing with a missing loved ones. Especially this guy here is in focus. The Weatherman, a crazy Weatherman character who's just like very outgoing, very loud, and he's a successful weatherman, but also it seems part of a great conspiracy, as it turns out. And yeah, it was very fast-paced, fun to read, great turns, and I need to know how this continues. This was my highlight of the stack, together maybe with the Detective Comics. So that's it. I told you that I will have a sale coming up, but I have decided to wait until September, when everything's coming back from their vacations. So if you want to support the channel, there might be another way, but I will do a separate video on it. Other than that, another announcement: this channel from now on changes into a comics and books channel. I'm reading a lot of books, and I was thinking about doing a second channel with books, but then I was like, fuck it. I will throw everything, all my content which is reading based will go into this channel. I hope you will enjoy it. So novels and non-fiction will become part of it. I have big plans, but like I said, I will do a special announcement video for the future of the channel. Until then, enjoy your comics, enjoy your books, have a great time. See you soon, bye bye.